Yeah, if you could lick the foot of anybody in the world, dead or alive, fictional or non-fictional, who would it be? And get their power. Who would it be and why?
Wait, say it again. Wait,
Okay.
what did you say?
He lost you after like lick the foot. You're like, what?
Okay. Hey, and welcome to another episode of Making the Right Play. I'm your host, Ishi, with my co-host.
Manik.
Today, we're here with another special guest, an aspiring aviator, Stefan De Silva. How's it going, Stefan?
Not too bad, bro. How about you?
Not bad, not bad. Doing all right. Manik?
That's good. How about you, man?
Yeah,
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm just glad that Stefan's here. You know, it's nice to see him. I have seen him once in real life, but like we've been close friends for the last year or so.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
Anyway, so Stefan's in flight school. Stefan, do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Give us some background to yourself.
Yeah, well, my aviation journey kind of started because of my dad. He's an aircraft engineer. So ever since I was small, I was kind of surrounded with planes and stuff. And I've been traveling like at a young age as well. But I had two paths. It was either being a cricketer or a pilot. But I thought being a pilot was a more better option because there's a future to it as well. So
I guess, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, I think like every like Sri Lankan kid has like at some points has a hope to be a cricketer, right? And
right.
I know. Okay, I wasn't talented at cricket. I could barely bowl like without chucking. But like I when I was like 6, 7, maybe till what I was 10, I thought I'd work in aviation as well, right?
Right.
Things have taken a turn since then, but like I feel like that's like the national dream at some point for a lot of like Sri Lankan kids.
For sure.
But yeah,
For sure,
I guess you're just working on making it a reality. So do you want to tell us like what you're doing right now? I know you're in flight school. How's that going? Things like that.
Yeah. So what happened was I did my private in Sri Lanka, my private pilot license. That was in a flying school called Open Skies Flight Training. I was based in Katakurunda. And then to get my instrument rating and my commercial pilot license, I went to the States. It's called Riverside Flight Center. And the experience was crazy, man. Like there's a massive exposure. For example, like just flying there, like in Sri Lanka, you'd like get like 3 planes in the sky, whereas in US, it's like on a good day you'll at least have like 30 to 40 planes, and like you got to stay alert. There's a major difference. And so I completed my commercial as well, and now I'm back in Sri Lanka converting my license to the Sri Lankan standards. But due to Corona, everything's closed down, so I'm kind of just at home, getting a degree as well. So that's pretty much it, man.
Dope, cool. Okay. Yeah, it's unfortunate that Corona had the impact that it did on the aviation industry. Right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to avoid that, but yeah, I guess that's anyway.
Yeah, and I was just wondering about the whole COVID thing, and that's something I want to talk to like Stefan about. Like people who want to be like aspiring like aviators or pilots, like what would you, is there any advice you would give them, or is there anything they should look out for given like the entire market drop that came with COVID? And I was just wondering what your thoughts were in terms of how the profession was affected, because I feel like you're also in like the place where you're like thinking about this stuff, right? Yeah,
definitely. So the thing is, I mean, if you have that passion, and if it's like a concrete idea that you want to be a pilot, go for it.
Yeah.
But the problem is obviously getting a job won't be that easy as of now, because like a lot of people are being fired and stuff. So I'd say like joining a flying school right now is the perfect time, because let's say it'll take about 1 year, 1.5 years max just to finish your training. And by that time, hopefully, the vaccines will be sorted out, and,
Yeah.
Everything will be slowly climbing back. So I think now is a perfect time to join flying schools, like wherever, maybe in Sri Lanka, US. So yes, I'd say just if that's the goal, if that's your goal, go for it, man. Like, don't let anything stop you, whether it's Corona or whether it's anyone who's trying to stop you. Just don't. But as long as if you have that passion and like love for aviation, go for it. Because nothing, if you have, like I said, if you have it, nothing can stop you from achieving a goal. So I'd say, yeah, it's a perfect time.
I know, because like I feel like you might have come across this criticism where people kind of say like, okay, there aren't many jobs, therefore like like there are only a few people selected from all these people who go to flight school and whatnot. And like on a realistic level, right, like not I guess, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like not everyone who goes to flight school might get placed in like the exact positions they want to be in, right? If I'm not mistaken, but like
Right.
so like to kind of balance that out and like balance those, like that fear, like which you might have probably faced at some point in the entire journey, like how would you advise someone to kind of like combat that?
So the thing is, yes, in Sri Lanka, it's really hard
Really
to,
difficult. Okay.
straight away go to the airline job. It's
Okay.
it's hard because the employment rate is not that good in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
But there are many ways of achieving that commercial, like the airline job. But
Okay.
I know a few people who really like they just want to be an instructor. So they don't really, their end goal is not to be a commercial airline pilot. But what
Okay.
they want to do is they want to learn and then like teach. So
Okay.
there's so many ways. For example, like I know a couple of friends who did the seaplane rating. So what they
Okay.
do is they did their seaplane rating and they build on hours. They get experience, and that will go a long way when you're applying for airlines as well, because they know that you've worked in a field where you've flown, you worked with a company that's basically aviation. So there's that. Or you could also be an instructor, gain some hours, gain like a lot of hours. In that way, you're getting paid as well, and that allows you to, that's also another added advantage if you're applying to an airline as well. So there are plenty ways, and but then again, yes, to be realistic, there's going to be a time where there's just like you have no option but just to be at home. But aviation's it's a evolving field, man. Like you can learn things every day.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
with companies like Boeing and Airbus, they're just crazy. They're so innovative, and you just can learn a lot just by not even just by reading. So I think just keeping yourself busy and keeping the dream alive is very important, because it has happened to me like sometimes as well, like where you just get distracted. You're like, is this the right field? But then that's just like you, you just need to make sure you're focused and just do whatever it takes to in order for you to reach that goal, no matter how long it takes. But eventually, you'll reach that. That's the mentality you kind of have to have.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like I think you like clarified by saying that some people's end goal is not to be a commercial pilot. But so I'm guessing that yours is that that's where you want to end up being. So you want to fly for a commercial airline, and that's the end game for you.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So what does that ladder look like? So like so you have your private certification now. You have your commercial certification. I think that's what I call it. So what
Sure.
next steps you have to take to it? I know you're talking about like converting a license. What's next?
Yeah. So normally what will happen is after a commercial pilot license, since I did it in the States, I had to come back here and convert it, right? But if, for example, if I did all my license in Sri Lanka, my next step would be hopefully getting into an airline. And then in the airline, there's this thing called type rating. So that training is basically tailored to a specific airplane. For example, A320, so an Airbus 320 type rating, which will be provided by the airline itself. For example, in Sri Lanka. So you do that, and then you gain some hours just flying by like with an instructor, and then there are a lot of exams. There are a lot of exams in like people think it's just you fly autopilots, and then you're done. But there's so much to it. So you go through some tests, and then there's like the final checkout flight where you're like you fly with one of the test captains, and then once they see that you're fit to fly with passengers, and boom, that's the start of your journey right there.
Cool, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
pretty much
that's
it.
interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And you mentioned that you were doing like a degree on the side right now, like these days.
Right. Yeah.
So like what were your like ambitions with that, like, and why did you wanna like pursue that?
Um. So it's always good to have plan B.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
with this feel, like I know, see, like you could. There's a lot of luck in this field. Like you should be really lucky as well. So sometimes you might not be lucky to get it at that very moment. So you might have to wait an extra year, or maybe 2 years or 3 years. So being stagnant and not doing anything is not good. You gotta do something. So with this degree, it's a business management degree. Like you can just apply it to somewhere, and maybe a company, and there's no solid plan as such, but it's just that I
Yeah.
want to build on my CV, and show
Yeah.
that I'm not just aviation specific. I can do a lot of things. I can work
Yeah.
you know with a lot of people, because dude, like teamwork is a big thing. Like
Yeah.
you might be one of the best pilots, you can fly, you can fly a plane well, you're good with studies and stuff, but if you don't have qualities like teamwork and stuff, there's like you can't be a good pilot, because like you
Makes
have to
sense.
have eyes in the back. You just have to be a good team player. So having a degree like this and applying it to any field will give me that added advantage.
I think like
Exactly,
personally,
man.
I think like what you said about like having like a plan B also goes a long way when you apply towards like airlines, like just having like I think you touched on this, but like just having that you know uh like indicator on your CV that you're capable of doing this, and you've
Right,
gone
right.
through this kind of program. I think it'll go
Yeah,
a long way. Like from my like
for
kind of
sure.
surface level knowledge, I think it seems like it will go a long way on the road.
Yeah.
But like yeah,
And especially if, like, for a time like now, man, like where they just it's like some pilots, like they're young as well, and they've been fired just like that. And
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
degree, you can always go use that degree for something till the aviation field like comes back. So
Sounds like
it's
yeah.
always good to have something you know in your ammo.
yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
yeah. But so this is like the 10-year-old airplane buff in me jumping out. But when I was younger, I probably logged like 1,000 hours on Flight Simulator. I played
Right.
that game like yeah, like oh god, I got back from school and I played it for like 3 hours every day. Right?
Oh shit, crazy,
Yeah,
man.
I'm like
What the?
I learned
Yeah.
that thing. I learned that thing inside out, right? So like when I was 10, I was flying like ILS routes, VOR to VOR, right, VFR stuff. Like it was awesome, right? So and you also had the option to be like ATC in that game, so you could get online and you could play like ATC stuff. But
Right.
like, so what
Yeah.
does pilot school look like? Like, what's like the framework of learning? I guess.
Yeah, I'm also very curious. Yeah.
So it's quite well, I wouldn't say simple, but uh, there's a lot of theory that there's like to it, but the main thing is understanding. If you Because I know like some people, they kind of memorize the book, and that doesn't work, because you're flying a
You
plane,
try
man. You're
playing. Yeah. Yeah.
And if you memorize things by the book, you just like, say for example, some emergency happens and you're trying to recall, whereas if you understood what to do and how to do it and how to like tackle the situation, it's much easier. So theory wise, yes, it differs from country to country. Oh, I'd say syllabus. US, I'd say the theory is way easier. whereas the syllabus, the European syllabus that Sri Lanka follows, is way more tougher. There's way more theory to it. But one thing I enjoyed about the syllabus in US is the flying bit, man. Like it's crazy. Like you get to fly. What I flew to 150 hours solo, and it's just like you get to fly to different places, and the challenges you face every day is different. Whereas in Sri Lanka, when I was flying like solo, it's like a routine where you like, okay, you're going here, you're going there, because the airports were limited, man. Whereas in the States, it's just there's like plenty of airports. So, but to answer your question, bro, it's oh, fuck me, sorry.
Sure.
But yeah, to answer your question, it's not tough. It's not tough, but you have to study, especially the commercial pilot license area. That's very because so the exams, how it goes is you have an oral, and then you have the practical part of it. So the oral is like kind of where they ask you like specifications of the plane and like a lot of things like weather, anything the examiner wants to ask, you have that, and the flight is just performing maneuvers and also obviously landings and takeoffs. And another thing is how you handle like situations. Like for example, if engine cuts out, how do you react? What do you do? There's a whole process. So things like that is what it is. But you gotta, like I said, understand the theory more than memorizing, and that'll help you a long way.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Like, yeah, I like you said like it differs from like country to country, and I can imagine like also first before that, what did you fly in the US? Was it like 172 Cessna or
Oh yeah, so I flew the 150 172, and the Duchess, Beechcraft Duchess.
Okay,
That's what I flew.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are my favorite. Like, well, the 172 Sparrowhawk was like probably my like favorite aircraft on Flight Simulator, but like favorite light aircraft.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
pretty.
Right.
The Flight
No,
Simulator
it's
had.
funny still.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go for it. No, go for it. Tell me.
No, I was just saying, Flight Simulator had like this flight school thing inside, right? And they would make you do like
okay.
they would make you do like your first solo flight. So like you fly, like you take off, do the downwind segment, and come back and land, right? And yeah,
Right.
long story, but yeah, go ahead. You were gonna say something.
When I was just about to say like a lot of instructors like they actually tell us not to play a flight simulator. It's funny, but the thing is like you learn a lot like procedures wise and like understanding, but flying wise it's they tell us not like to stay away because it's different, man. Like flying an actual plane and flying a plane on a game, it's different. So yeah, and I was never I played it here and there, but I was never like a strong person because all my instructors like stay off the game because some of my instructors, they'll be like, you played flight simulator the next day, like they judge it, like they know the way I fly the next day. They're like, I know you played flight simulator yesterday, and I was like, yeah, I did, because it's crazy. There's a huge difference. So
because there's like no feedback, right? Because like
exactly.
in flight simulator you can do a barrel roll in a Cessna and you have no consequences, right? Like structurally, sure, nothing might happen to the plane, but like inside you're throwing up, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. That's actually quite comical that your instructors are like tuned enough to know that. Yeah. So maybe if you want to be a pilot, don't be like me. But I'm not a pilot, so.
No, man. But dude, like I know one of this guy. He's working for Airbus, if I'm not mistaken. But and he's like a crazy flight simulator dude, and like he like takes it to the extent like he's just buying new stuff. And like he's just upgrading. It's a good hobby to have as well, man. Like flying the flight simulator as well.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think this is more of a generic question, but like Stefan, like given the interest that's there, like how like some people just throw piloting on like, okay, I might do this. I feel like so basically, Stefan, I think I just have like a very generic question on like how people should kind of like frame their goals, right? Like what I've seen very common in like a lot of people who are like aspiring like airline pilots or like even if they want to work in the airline industry, they have this like deep passion for the field in general and like deep passion for like planes and like flying and whatnot. Do you think that's like a requirement for people to get in? Because I feel like a lot of people are interested, but at the same time I see a bunch of people who just like have it as this option, and like I feel like committing to that, I personally feel like committing to that might not be the best option for something, a field like this. But like, what are your personal thoughts on that?
So like, so aviation, you gotta there's so much money to it, man. You gotta put so much money. So if you're not sure about what you want, like if you're not sure, like for example, if you want to, there are some people who just get their private pilot license just to fly as a hobby. They just like flying, but they don't want to take it to that level of, you know, having it as a job. So for them, you know, they obviously have the interest for it, but you know, they don't want to go for the commercial empire. But for the people who want their end goal to be a commercial air pilot, you have to have that passion, man. Like you have to have that dedication towards that, or else there's no point, because all that money just goes to waste. So it's gonna take time. Like you have to, you know, go through all the ups and downs to get that final goal, but you have to, you know, keep that passion throughout, no matter what. Like I said before. So yes, I'd say if your goal is to become a commercial air pilot, that the passion has to be there. I mean, it's there with anything, right? Like if any job, if you don't have a passion for it, why waste your effort, right?
That's true.
Anyway, we have one question we ask every guest that comes on, and I'm gonna. That's the fun. It's a weird question, but bear with me here. If you could lick the foot of anybody in the world, dead or alive, fictional or non-fictional, who would it be? And get their power. Who would it be and why?
Wait, say it again. Wait,
okay.
What do you say?
He lost you after like. You're like, what?
Okay. If you could lick the foot of anybody in the world, dead or alive, fictional or non-fictional, and gain their power, who would it be and why?
Gain their power.
And power is defined as whatever you want it to be. It can be like political power or just ability, skill, so on and so forth.
Let's see. Dude, the first thing that comes to my mind is, dude, like, I'm a crazy fan of like Kumar Sangakkara. It sounds weird, but yeah, dude, like batting like him is just like a dream come true, dude. Like this,
batting, like his the whole cover drive.
Like just the like, yeah, man, the way he bats and the way he carries himself. It's
the way he carries himself.
I'd say Kumar Sangakkara, man.
No. Okay, cool. That's a good answer. Anyway, I think.
Is this like a question? Is like a question you asked everyone?
We ask everyone this.
What did Isuru say?
What did Isuru say? I don't remember.
I think. Wait.
Who was it?
Some rapper for sure.
That was what Ashani said. Ashani said Tupac, right?
Yeah, Ashani said Tupac. So Isuru, I can't remember the actual answer he gave, but like he said this best of thing. He was like, if it was just about licking someone's foot, you know, their entire legs, like just for the sake of licking it, it'll be Cillian Murphy, like the guy from Peaky Blinders.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's a good answer though, dude.
Yeah, it's a good answer, but like I don't remember who he actually gave. Maybe it was Cillian Murphy, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's a good answer.
Interesting. Yeah. Cool. Right. Yeah, that's a good. Sangakkara is a good answer, and I think that brings us to the end of this this episode of Making the Right Play. And yeah, stay tuned for the next episode. And thanks to all the viewers for watching this far, and thanks to Stefan for coming on. Big thanks out there.
No worries, man.
Yeah, I think we all learned a little bit today about aviation and you know, the trials that come with it, and you know, how to make it in the industry, really. And yeah, thank you for coming on. And I think that's the end of the podcast. So yeah, have a great day. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.
See you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Making the Right Play. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Content.
This will keep you posted on new episodes, bonus content, and blooper reels. We hope you make the right play.